Hello, this is the data science learning community, and we are exploring the charting of theme of mastering Shiny. We are going to explain how to use functions to improve the way that we develop Shiny apps. Basically, by keeping the the suggestion of don't try, so don't repeat ourselves developing in the developer parts. Like is our analysis functions can be useful in Shiny applications to improve the functionality and optimization and make your code cleaner for quicker debugging. Learning objectives. Learn how to use functional programming techniques to make many controls at once. So yeah, you just need to write the code once and you will have many options available in the UI. Understand how to use function with reactive in the server, and also work through some use cases where functions might be appropriate. And we are going to talk about the file organization, the UI functions, and also server functions. So functions allow you to spread your code across multiple files. This is where organization is the key. The suggestion is created in the R. So you have your project directory and you will create a directory named R. So you will place every function in a single R source package, a source file. That's the same way that we create packages. Also, you have a smaller function. You can use the convention or R utils. Just create one script. If you think that your function are too small to just create one file just to describe that function. Let's see a simple example. Imagine that we have some slicers. We have an alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and we have a minimum value, and they are almost all the same, you know. You just place a different ID for each of them, but in the name of in the label of the each selector slicer, but they're all the same. So you don't want to make this. Instead, you will need to create a function where the function have all the defaults that you want to keep, and then you will use that function to place every ID. And that's a way that you avoid repetition. Like functions in analysis, functions in ads make your ad more readable and efficient. If we need to make to change the behavior, we will only do it in one place. So in UI, we use function to avoid that kind of repetitions. Also, you can also create functions to define your default. Maybe, for example, you want to use the day input, but you would like to use a specific formatting for your country. I want to see the days, the month, and then the year. And also, we have a certain order for the calendar. You can just specify and use that simple functions in every Shiny. Also, you can place dots to have access to more options in your function. And also, it is really important to remember that we can also use functional programming. Basically, create many outputs in a list. And apply creates a list. So, for example, we have several choices, and we want an icon related to each of them. we just need to create that list and then apply the names. Then we have a radio button for each of them, and you won't need to create the radio button every time, for example. And they say you use the math function, they can be even simpler. You just need to pass your IDs and it will create the list for you. It will look the same. Also, we can go even farther. In this case, we have a slider that have the same defaults, but also we can define and change the default for every case. In this, we are creating attributes, so we have it is a row, it's like a table. It's a really interesting function to input manual data. So, we have the alpha go from 1 to 0, and the beta from 0 to 10, and gamma from -1 to 1, and delta from 0 to 1 as well as alpha. So you need to know that you need to create your column names using the same argument name that you are going to place in the function. So you have mean and also mass value. So you cannot just create whatever name for the columns that you are placing here. And he redefines a new function to make that. You have the ID, the label, that is the same ID, maybe some defaults, 0 was default, but as we are passing the arguments to the original function in this place, to slicer. Then you will create the math function. It was, yeah, go to the UI. Yeah, I think it was, let me see, I can run that sample just because I ran it while I was checking the chapter. I would like to share it also. Mhm. So we have library. Do you see there are studios, right, Ricardo?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, there's the config. So we have shiny app. Yeah, okay, I run this. And let me go to here and copy. Yeah, let's copy this sample when they use. I also need to put. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I already have it started. The free page, and yeah, with empty server function is enough. Just to have an idea. UI slicers. Oh yeah, that's because I didn't define the UI function. It was defining earlier. It was defined here. But I miscopy also this function. it was created right here. And you see all the slices all at once.
Yes.
And for the other one that they create with this table, let me just remove this part. My slicer, I just create this part. UI, fluid page, slicer. If I run this part. Yeah, you see the default for is different. The ranges. Or it's 0.5, but in different ranges of values. So with this technique, you can create several as you need, and you don't need to worry about how it will change or the number of options. Like that, you won't need to repeat it. Yeah, just basically passing a list. The difference between the before was map, and this is what P map. So you will use each column. Let's talk about server functions. They have a really good part here explaining the server functions I was want to share. Whenever you have a long reactive, let's say more than 10 lines, you should consider putting out in a separate function that does not use any reactivity. It has two advantages. It's much easier to debug and test your code. You can partition it so the reactivity live inside server and complex computation live in your functions. So it's like you have a business logic, something that also the right non-coverage, So you put your logic in the logic folder, and you won't put too many things in the server. It's like the base structure of the Shiny app should be with as less line as possible, because you will be adding many things to that place. When you're looking at the reality expression or output, there is no way to easily tell exactly what values it depends on, except by carefully reading the code block. A function definition, however, tells you exactly what the input are. The key benefits of the UI tend to be around duplication, and the key benefits of functions in the server tend to be around isolation and testing. So yeah, maybe you can put it, but in both cases, your code will be more readable if you use a server function. Let's see the first example. Let's say that your server function is read to this file. So you are waiting for a file path, and then you will use tools to extract the extension of the file, depending on is a CSV or is a TSV. You will import your data using a tab or just comma for division, and frame an error, like a shiny error validate to say, hey, you should input one of the two files, but the other one are supported. And once you have your data based on this, then you render the table. But they say that many parts of this are not maybe they're not indispensable to be here, so we should create a function in its own file. So we can start extracting the file and importing the data. Load file, let's call them. And also we can put the validate option here, so without any worry. And it won't have any problem. So you will be able to maybe spread the error to the next level in the server. So now your data is more simple to read. You just have a requirement before running your code. Then you import your data, and that's the data that you are going to import. If something happened here and it's not supported, you know where in which part of the logic you will need to emphasize. And yeah, now the server function is more easier to read just by creating that function.
Angel, I could add there that in the real world, you can create usually, and this I've seen this many times in Python. That, for example, when you read the data, you create a function to read the data. Okay. You create a function to read the data, and then you apply the function, to read the data. Then you create your pre-processing steps. Okay. For example, eliminate constant columns. If there's a problem with the naming, fix it. Okay. For standardizing. You can do if you're going to delete some rows that are that have missing values, you can do that, or you can impute. What else? All these pre-processing steps. Also, you can create another function, okay? Specifying all these processing steps. When you read the data, then you apply the pre-processing function. So now you have a clean data set that you can use for whatever purposes you want. Okay, with just those two functions, and usually those two functions live in a place that you can call utils. Okay, you can call utils, to store all that. And what happens is that, let's say that you have another project, you can reuse that code. Okay, you don't have to go back and do the steps. Of course, you have to do some exploration first to see if you have to modify, for example, the reading part and the pre-processing. But usually those two are very common in modularizing your your app. Reading the data and pre-processing the data. And then you can do exploration with Shiny. You can do modeling with tidy models, whatever, because you already have the data set that is clean.
Yeah, just needed to make that.
Yeah. And that once you get the first challenge is to create the functions, because once you create the functions, then they're reusable. Okay, you just have to change certain things for applying to specific cases. For example, if you have a column that is a text column, probably you want to do some pre-process, but then you can create another function okay, for that specific column. All right, so you can have a pre-processing data, and then a little function to just let's say it's a description for text that comes from a Twitter feed. Okay, so you have to clean that, but you already know the steps that you are going to do, so you create another function for further cleaning that column.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it quickens the pace of your development. Okay.
Yeah, and also allow you to debug easier
Oh yeah.
functions.
Yeah,
Function are
exactly, because
incredible.
you know exactly, if there's a problem, you know what function is the culprit one. So you have to check, what's happening there, do the certain debugging, and then keep going.
Exactly, and you will
It's
read your project faster.
it's like building Legos, really. what you're doing.
Yeah, and when
So
you press
building
a button,
Legos, and then you say, okay, this piece doesn't fit. Okay, let's see, what's happening here, and then you fix that, but the rest of the model is still working. Okay.
Yeah, it's like also like normalization in databases.
Right.
You
Yeah,
want to have all your data in different pieces so you don't repeat data.
correct.
It's also like that.
That's the same philosophy here. And
Yeah.
remember what David Robinson said. If you're repeating, a step 3 times, write a function. You
No,
know,
I
yeah,
think we are in a level that we want every time you are thinking about copying and pasting, create a function.
create a
It's
function. Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. If you have a doubt, create a function. If you have a doubt, create a function.
then create, then you will find.
It won't harm.
No, that and make it really readable. So you just imagine you would need to read all these lines
Yep, yep,
to understand. It just import data.
exactly.
It
Yep.
just import data, and now you don't need to grab. Oh, we have. You are more focused in the reactivity part.
Exactly. You're more focused in the analysis and the development of the
Exactly.
of the process itself. The
Now
mundane
we know.
stuff is already taken care. Yep.
Yeah, it's like okay, the analysis in functions, but
Yep.
now here we see the reactivity. I know that before importing, we need have the file path, and that's it. That's the only requirement to get data.
Remember that book that probably, that will be one, that a couple of people I've seen that they're requested, the Bruno Rodriguez book, Reproducible Pipelines with R.
Yeah,
Okay. Uh, I'm studying that in another book club, outside from the data science community. But it's interesting how he structures his his app. Okay. And the way he structures his app is just that. Create a function, apply it. Create a function, apply it. Create a function, apply it.
and like the targets package force you to make that. It's like
Correct.
you need to go in a way that every
Yep,
no, every step is just one function.
correct. And precisely he uses the targets package. I believe it's in chapter 13 after the testing. After the testing chapter, okay, you do the package, do the testing, then you create the target pipeline.
No, they really make an incredible work
Oh yeah.
creating that book because, for example, I was following a course to, for example, learning Docker,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I was really confused because it's
Right.
like using Docker for any language is different, like using just for a particular case. And the introduction he made for how to set up the Docker file
Mm-hmm.
really changed the way I develop. You see, I
Correct.
use
Yep. Yep.
it is the Docker that he recommends for Docker file.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
using
there's another chapter for the containers, which he uses Docker. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the one I'm using. I also I really also switched to Linux because many of the charter, for example,
Mm-hmm.
well, I know you're using Mac and it's a
Right.
Unix base, where I was using Windows, and
Right.
yeah, I really feel the heart.
Yeah, I mean, I have a Mac M1, okay, which
Hmm.
is a little bit, it's a little bit, so sometimes, to get things, running, sometimes, it gets, his kinks.
Hmm.
But the Mac, in terms of the development, tools that the Mac has is great.
No, yeah, we have
Great.
a great share to work
Yeah.
with.
Oh, yeah.
And now we have internal functions. He explained also that sometimes you don't want to take out your function out of the scope of the server function because it updates part of the session. For example, you have an update function, and you should keep it maybe in the same place to don't lose the session. I think that was the purpose, or you might ask for session. Maybe there's a ways to take around this, but that was the suggestion that he gave in the book. You are update functions that we change the section. It's not like business logic as before. It's like if they will change Shiny itself, you should keep it inside of the server one. So you use the input, output or session. That makes sense to keep it in the server part. And I just using the input of scope, the function, you just need, oh, you are going to switch to this page or the other page because we are using UCBM. What I see that this function is really creativity focused, like really deep in the changing Shiny, not like just making things that we could use outside of Shiny at these other function have. And what that's it. That was the chapter.
Mhm.
So
Yes, short and sweet, but very, very important for your code development, techniques.
they say that use the session. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it's not user, but it's like indirectly user.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the chapter. Easy, maybe a review because I know that this behavior you see passing list to UI and all renders. I have seen it before in the book, but
Mhm.
it's also a good reminder. We went in the observer part, and when we go to every chapter, we want to use everything. We want to do everything with every part. Like, oh, I can do this with observers. So you
Right.
start making a lot of observers, and
Right.
that's not,
Yeah.
but no, that's not maybe the best
That
way
that
to
that's not
do.
like the main part is the best practice, and maybe that's not the best practice. You have to think about how to do it that it won't you know it won't be overwhelming. you know.
Of course, of course. No, but that's the main part. So I will stop and losing the chat.